Welcome to Poets at War, a podcast documenting the brood of writers, where art, theology, philosophy, and fun beckon your ears. Today on the program, we are intercepting signals from two separate evenings on the front lines of culture. We have reports regarding artificial intelligence, the fall of empires, and the future headquarters of our operation. First up, we tune into a late night from October 23rd. The General Joshua David Ling and Officer Brendan Sunshine are discussing the digital trenches. They cover the spiritual implications of silicon and the struggle of the creative mind to find motivation in the machine.
I'm a mildly toasted beaver, got my whiskers sings again. Cooking fish for sons of Adam, while the snow is blowing in. Mrs. Beaver says I'm clumsy, but I keep that fire bright. Just a mildly toasted beaver, keeping watch through frozen nights.
I'd love for you to hear Knox's talk on AI that he gave at Fight Laugh Feast when it comes out. It was really good. His two things that he opened with: AI is overhyped, it'll never be God. AI is overhyped, it will never be man. But he actually goes into a lot of the stuff that I did in one of the articles that actually pulled a lot from you. It was the Spiritual Realm podcast that we did, talking about Spiritual Realm early on when you started being a main part. And it was talking about the idea that should we be singing psalms to the river? I don't think that one's actually dropped yet, but Knox's whole thing was, well, if we're supposed to be singing to the rocks and the river and all that other kind of stuff, and silicone are rocks, I mean, come on, man.
Did he actually pull from our episode, or
did Knox? No, I did. I'm saying I pulled, but I'm saying Knox was basically saying the same thing that we were saying in regard to that. He was just applying silicone, and microchips are all rocks too, right? They're a further realized version of that sort of thing.
Sure.
So
he's appealing to the physical nature of the physical material world in which AI resides.
Yes, and can only reside. Yeah, it can't go outside of that. Now, demons are outside of that and have effect on the material world. We agree with that. That's all there. But, you know.
Well, yeah.
They still tend to cower where Christians are having good dominion. Or at least get slinkier and slimier.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe.
So what you been up to besides just Hobby Lobby?
There's something besides Hobby Lobby.
Popcorn.
Popcorn. Well, it's funny to talk about AI and all this stuff. We've had our conversation about technology and my soft Ludditism, and yet AI is fun.
Mm-hmm.
It's fun to poke at.
Yep.
Go, what can you do? Poke it with a stick.
Yeah, how do you sing
Start with
rocks?
the stick a little, poke it again. Put a marshmallow on the end of the stick, poke it, see what happens,
For sure.
How do you react to this? What happens if I put sodium and chlorine together on you and see, what do you melt?
Right.
In my case, I've been using it as primarily a sounding board,
Mm-hmm.
but also as I have no idea where to start. And I've been trying to use it to get me to start doing stuff again.
Mm-hmm.
It hasn't worked. Because it's just only you can do your stuff. Also prevent forest fires, but that's a different issue. So, basically, I plugged, not all, because I realized I missed one or two, but I plugged 7 of my projects in, and I gave like a rough, this is where I'm at. And I said, okay. What I started off with is, okay, I have a bunch of different projects I'm working on, all of which are at different stages of completion. I will list them to you as well as the state they are in now. Do not make any suggestions on how to move forward. I only need you to understand and observe.
Mm-hmm.
And it said, okay. And it did it. I'm like, okay, that's interesting. You didn't try to fight me on the suggestion thing, which it has in the past.
Mm-hmm. Right. It's been getting better on stuff like that.
And so then I'm like, all right, give me some challenges that I might face. I said, all right. And then it did. I said, don't put too much weight on those challenges. Give me next steps.
Mm-hmm.
And it gave me next steps. And it said, then I had to adjust it, gave it more info, gave it more next steps. Then I said, okay, here's more info. Please break it down into smaller bits.
Mm-hmm.
And it gave me some stuff. And some of which I don't agree with, some of it I do. But it's interesting just to look at it and go, how can I move forward?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so it still doesn't solve the problem. I still have to do stuff. And I still need to have the energy and the motivation to do stuff.
For sure.
The stuff, the trick that I always seem to run into is I tend to look at the end goal and go, how can I make this end goal worthwhile? And I'm not sure that's the right thing to be doing.
You don't think you're shooting high enough?
No, I think I'm shooting too high.
Okay.
So a lot of people will dispute this, but I actually am a people pleaser somewhere in me.
Yes, you are. Yeah.
And so when I make something, there's always a part of me that's trying to go, how do I make this something that someone will enjoy? Right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
You know, I also care about quality. And so I would rather have a high quality thing that no one enjoys than a low quality thing that everyone enjoys.
Yeah.
Because if I wanted to make a low quality thing that everyone enjoys, I'd make pornography.
Right.
You know, let's not beat around the bush here. But so the thing is like, okay, let's say I'm creating something, right?
Mm-hmm.
I very rarely just create for myself. I usually create for the purpose of either practice, which is kind of creating for yourself, but it's also not. Or it's to entertain someone.
Sure.
So I want to make a book that other people will read. I want to make a game that other people will play. I want to whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Comic other people will read and look at and stuff. And so it's like all of these things have outside influence in the sense that there is someone else that I am almost beholden to despite not being beholden to them yet. In that they are the ones who consume the product. And the people pleaser in me is going, I have to make this the absolute best for them that they can enjoy. It has to be perfect. And I need to make sure that they like it enough and it's valuable enough to them that I get something back out of it, which is kind of selfish when you phrase it that way, but
I follow.
You know, there are all these layers.
You want to redeem your time. You want to redeem your time. That's not selfish.
Yeah, yeah. And what ends up happening, is then it's like, okay, I now need to make this thing as good as possible, which I never think, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. And you know me, and I've had this conversation with Jesse recently, actually. I'm never going to say that it's a bad thing to want to do something well. But the problem comes in when the standard of expectation for what I'm trying to output, to use gaming terms, is I'm trying to make a AAA game on an indie game budget with an experienced team and, all this, all of these things. And it's one of these deals where it's like, okay, it's not, you probably can't do that. And I just don't know where to start. Never mind the fact that different projects have different levels of motivation at different times.
For sure.
Heavy stuff, folks, but the conversation didn't stop at microchips. The squad dug into the history books, debating the end of the American experiment and the hope for a re-Christianized West coming from unexpected reinforcements in the global South.
I'm not allowed to say this out loud in public. However, I'm saying it out loud on the internet because, as we all know, the internet is not public.
Well, also, I'm not streaming and can edit stuff out if I need to, but
I think that there is a strong argument to be made that the American experiment officially died at the Civil War.
Oh, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Because the point of the American experiment, as it were, was that basically it was, we are going to be united in this front. However, this is a mutual agreement under everything. Yep. So we are going to let the states decide at the local, state level, and then blah, 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 to your government, whatever. But more importantly, if we want out, there is a system in place for us to leave.
Yep.
The South did it.
Yep.
They followed the rules.
Yep.
And then the oligarchical North said, no, we are going to be a nation. You may not rebel.
Right. They said Fort Sumter's ours, right? Right. Shouts like, no.
However you want to phrase it, it was it shouldn't have, I'm not saying that, slavery was a good thing or whatever.
Right. Mm-hmm. Right.
I'm saying the American experiment failed because of the Civil War.
Right. Exactly. Mm-hmm.
And it's been all downhill from a federal government level sense from there.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, yeah. I have been on record for saying that America's not going to last another 100 years. I said that if Trump was elected, he might stall that by 50.
Right. Yeah, the American, the American Empire hasn't been around terribly long compared to a lot of others. However, I will say that Rome was around in one form or another until the 1500s.
Not really.
Not really, but kind of. There was still people doing stuff. You know what I mean?
They took the name.
Yeah.
At best. Mm-hmm. But it's not
right. Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying I don't think that the United States of America is done until there's 2 states, and then they're like, do we really want to keep doing this? Like that's the way I count these things usually, but I'm a little bit more like, but I'm not optimistic about that particularly at all either, but I am optimistic about, like you've said before, Africa, but not just Africa and global South and stuff like that. I see a lot of change in just generally the mountainous country portions of the North. Those have always been, in some sense, a place that is a little bit more open to holding out and keeping quiet and rebuilding as need be. Not just Appalachia, but places in Scotland. I know Scotland is really in bad shape, but I know some people in small places that are like, yeah, we're just gonna hide out, keep doing what we're doing, keep our head down, and so they'll rebuild.
Yeah, well, assuming God likes to use patterns.
Mm-hmm.
And by patterns, I mean, well, you know what I mean.
Yeah, I do.
Ireland had to re-Christianize Europe.
Yep.
Europe was originally, like, at a certain point, Europe was Christian. They moved to Ireland. Ireland became predominantly, stop that. Ireland became predominantly Catholic. And then the Catholic Irish, well, then Europe fell into chaos, and like people said, this Christianity is hard. Let's do the easy way. Paganism. And the Irish Christians were like, and the Irish Christians ended up. Sorry, you're going to have to edit this into a short. It's going to be awful. And the Irish Christians traveled back to Europe and re-Christianized Europe.
Mm-hmm.
And that held for a while. I think that Asia, Africa, mostly Asia and Africa. You're already seeing it in Asia, but Asia and Africa. Let me give you a clean sentence. I think Asia and Africa are going to have to do that for the West again. Probably America, right?
I could see
that. Also Europe, but probably America. Asia has already started doing that. There are a bunch of Asian missionaries who have gone on record of saying we need to work to start doing evangelism in the West again.
Right. Because the West is going in this trajectory. There's still a large remnant of people, who are consider themselves Christian, but there's a lot of nominalism, and we need to like bring the fire back. Yeah, totally.
Well, the fire, but also like they're not saying, "Oh, you're bad," but they're like, "We see the direction you're going.
Yep.
We should try to help. We should try to help our parents."
Yes.
When they go astray. It's like, okay.
And even in a practical sense, like the fact that the U.S. Navy is still pretty much like the world's police, like it's good to Christianize that nation. You know what I mean? For security's sake, for the Pax Romana.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so it wouldn't surprise me if when Kirith and I were first married, we tried to become missionaries to Europe.
Mm-hmm. I remember that.
We ended up being rejected, but I have and still have that heart. I don't want to say, "Oh, I have a heart for Europe." Like, "Oh, look at me, I'm holier than thou." That's not what I'm saying.
No. I know what you mean.
I'm saying that I long for that old. I want those dry bones to get back up.
Mm-hmm.
Like I would love for that. Like Europe is that valley of bones, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they need to get some flesh on them and start doing stuff. I would love to help that. But I'm not in that position right now. And God has seen fit to say no. And so I'm going to, like, I have to keep working on my little stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
But which I really should be doing that. But talking for me is a full-time job. Not really. Talking to you in particular takes a lot of mental energy, sir.
I don't mean it to. I try to probe certain areas and, bring up questions.
But you ask good questions. No, but you ask good questions, and I don't want to give cheap, pithy answers.
Right.
Also, you ask about me as a person, and I don't like thinking about myself as a person. You jerk.
Well, I do, because I don't like always thinking about me as a person. But I think that's a common sentiment amongst Christian men, to be honest with you.
Well, yeah.
For good and ill.
We now jump forward to October 28th. The barracks are full tonight. We've got new recruits and old veterans. To settle the troops, the general pulls out a field manual, specifically the prologue to the Wingfeather Saga by Andrew Peterson, to demonstrate how a proper introduction is executed.
I'm recording. If you want to know for sure, you can ask, but I try to be upfront with people as best as I can. So, but yeah, he was just talking about his writing. I was just about to read to him. He had not heard the beginning of the Wingfeather Saga. I can't remember. Had you read Wingfeather Saga, Dante?
I have not.
Okay, but you've heard of it, right?
A few times, yes.
Okay, so
I've heard it described as the Christian answer to Disney.
It's not, but it's, but yeah, it's sort of like a homeschooly Princess Bride meets Lord of the Rings. So, but yeah, I was just going to read the prologue, which is actually technically like 3 mini prologues. You guys will get it as we go. It's not super long. Don't worry. Starts out, a brief introduction to the world of Ere We Are. The old stories tell that when the first person woke up on the first morning in the world where this tale takes place, he yawned, stretched, and said to the first thing he saw, "Well, there we are." The man's name was Dwayne, and the first thing that he saw was a rock. Next to the rock, though, was a woman named Gladys, whom he would learn to get along with very well. In the many ages that followed, that first sentence was taught to children and their children's children and their children's parents, cousins, and so on, until, quite by accident, all speaking creatures referred to the world around them as Ere We Are. On Ere We Are, there were 2 main continents divided by one main ocean called the Dark Sea of Darkness. By the 4th epoch, the harsh land east of the sea had come to be known as Dang, and has little to do with this tale, except for the great evil that came to exist there and waged a great war on pretty much everybody. That evil was a nameless evil, an evil whose name was Nag the Nameless. He ruled from high atop the Kilridge Mountains in the Castle Throg, and of all the things Nag despised in Ere We Are, he most hated the High King Wingfeather of the Isle of Anira. For some reason no one could guess, Nag and his wretched hordes had marched westward and gobbled up the shining Isle of Anira, where fell the good king, his house, and his noble people. Unsatisfied, the nameless evil, named Nag, built a fleet that bore his monstrous army westward across the Dark Sea of Darkness to the continent of Scree, and he ravaged that wide land 9 long years before our adventure begins. I'm going to skip a slightly less brief introduction to the land of Scree. The whole land of Scree was green and flat, except for the stony mountains in the north, which weren't flat at all, nor were they green. They were rather white from all the snow, though if the snow melted, something green might eventually grow there. But farther south, the plains of Palinjab J covered the rest of Scree with their rolling and decidedly green grasslands, except of course for Glipwood Forest, just south of the plains. The Leonard woodlands rolled off the edges of all maps, except one would suppose those maps made by whatever people lived in those far lands. But the people who made their homes on the plains, at the edges of the forest, high in the mountains and along the great river Blap, lived in a state of lasting, glorious peace. That is, except for the aforementioned Great War, which they lost quite pitifully and which destroyed life as they knew it. In the 9 years after Skree's king and all his lords, in fact, everyone with a claim to the throne, had been executed, the people of Skree had learned to survive under the occupation of the Fangs of Dang. The Fangs walked about like humans, and in fact, they looked exactly like humans, except for the greenish scales that covered their bodies and the lizard-like snout and the 2 long venomous fangs that jutted downward from their snarling mouths. Also, they had tails. Since Nag the Nameless had conquered the free lands of Skree, the Fangs had occupied all the towns, exacting taxes and being nasty to the free Skreeans. Oh yes, the people of Skree were quite free, as long as they were in their homes by midnight, and as long as they bore no weapons and didn't complain when their fellow Skreeans were occasionally taken away across the sea, never to be seen again. But other than that, the cruel Fangs and the constant threat of death and torture, there wasn't much to fear in Skree. Except for the stony mountains where hairy bum-nobbles crept across the land with their long teeth and hungry bellies, and across the frozen wastes of the ice prairies where those few who made their home there battled snick buzzards daily. Farther south, the plains of Palanjab J were as safe as they were beautiful, except for the rat badgers that slithered through the tall grass. A farmer from Torboro claimed to have seen one as big as a young meep, which is about the size of a full-grown chorkney, an animal that stands about as high as a flabbit. Before roaring over Fingap Falls, the river Blap was wide and peaceful, clear as a spring, and the fish to be caught there were both delicious and docile, except for the many fish that were poisonous to the touch, and the daggerfish that were known to leap into boats and impale the stoutest fishermen. And now the last one of the 3. An introduction to the Iggyby Cottage. Very brief. That's what it says. Very brief. Just outside the town of Glipwood, perched near the edge of the cliffs above the dark sea, sat a little cottage where lived the Iggyby family. The cottage was rather plain, except for how comfortable it was, and how nicely it had been built, and how neatly it was kept in spite of the 3 children who lived there, and except for the love that glowed from it like firelight from its windows at night. As for the Iggyby family, well, except for the way they always sat late into the night beside the hearth telling stories, and when they sang in the garden when they gathered the harvest, and when the grandfather, Poto Helmer, sat on the porch blowing smoke rings, and except for all the good, warm things that filled their days, like the cider in a mug on a winter night, they were quite miserable. Quite miserable indeed in the land where walked the Fangs of Dang. That was it.
That is a brilliant prologue. I am impressed.
It is so good.
I hope to write something as eloquent.
Go ahead.
It has the eloquence and the slightly distracted vocabulary of Tolkien with the whimsy and childish wonder of a lot of fairy tales, and it's like a beautifully blended combo of descriptive and and there's this thing over here too.
Yes. And it goes throughout the whole book. But the characters and their arcs and the things that they go through are every bit as deep as characters that you would have at least in Narnia. I won't necessarily say like Lord of the Rings, but like the characters in Narnia, like the emotional arcs that they go through are very much, I would say, on par with the ones in the Wingfeather Saga. It's really great. You guys definitely should read it at some point when you get the chance. The show is okay. I think they're doing a good job with it overall, but like the books are incredible, you know? So, but yeah, I love how silly it is. And at the same time, I cannot express to you how utterly in tears everyone who reads the last book is. So just really, really good stuff.
Morale is high in the mess hall. The unit decides to play a game of musical roulette, checking the #1 Billboard hits from the days they were born. Some of the results, well, let's just say not every era produced such classics.
One of my favorite things to do, with just like birthdays and stuff, is see what the Billboard #1 hit was the week you were born. And mine was "It's a Great Day to Be a..." It's "Just Another Day in Paradise."
Nice.
I forget who did that. I'm looking it up again. Not the Phil Collins one. What is it? Is it Bert? No, Phil Vassar. Phil Vassar. So yeah. Oh,
I'm
boy.
looking to see what the song was.
Well, now I'm curious.
You looking up yours?
Yeah.
Let's see what we get. I'm on pins and needles.
Yeah, I don't recognize any of these.
What is the top one? I might
I actually
know it.
don't know how. I'm not sure how to read the page.
Okay, let me see.
Oh.
Do
It says
you mind? Go ahead.
chart only available to pro subscribers.
Oh, so forget that. What do you mind me asking what the date was?
April 20th, 2001.
Okay. Top hit, #1 hit. #1 hit. Let's find out. "All for You" by Janet Jackson.
Oh boy.
And it had just replaced "Butterfly" by Crazy Town. Oh, do you know "Butterfly"?
Right. No.
It's like, come, my lady, you're my butterfly, sugar baby.
Oh, wow.
So you just dodged that bullet.
Yay.
How about you, Dante? May I ask yours? Or are you still looking?
I'm washing dishes at the moment. I'm just listening. How good are you with math?
Okay. I'm slow, but I'm good at it.
13 years after, but 6 days before.
13 years after, but 6 days before. What do you mean? As far as math, like that's you're not 13 years old. I know that.
13 years after yours, but 6 days before.
But 6 days before. Okay, so 6 days before the
Oh, I know this one.
24th, and 13 years after. So
Oh, dude.
$19.89 plus 13 equals, okay. And then I think I got it. Give me 1 second. December words 20. Let's see. Okay. "Lose Yourself" by Eminem. Oh, good one.
Depends what I'm doing, but yeah.
Yeah, that fits. Just the attitude. Oh,
People do
that's
say I
funny.
have a one-track mind sometimes.
Yep, there you go. You better never let it go.
Let it go, let it roll right off your shoulders, don't you know?
See, I thought you were going Elsa there. I was like, okay.
Oh
That's
no, no! I'm not gonna pull Disney out this early on in the friendship.
Well, technically, you did pull out Disney. That's from a Disney movie. Meet the Robinsons. Let it go, let it roll right off your shoulder. That's Rob Thomas singing Little Moments from Meet the Robinsons.
Okay. While you're correct, it was a song that was by an artist, not specifically for the Disney movie.
I'm not sure about that, but I'm gonna look it up.
If it was written for the Disney movie, then my argument will be that I don't consider Meet the Robinsons to be a Disney movie because it's actually good.
Oh wow, there you go. Shots fired.
It's not a bad argument.
Also, Beauty and the Beast is great. So there you go. Let's see here. This was okay. Let's see. Well, okay, maybe. I'm confused.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Beauty and the Beast did cement the standards for men. You have to be over 6 feet and be extremely hairy.
Yes, absolutely. Anyway, even though I'm not over 6 feet. So, let's see. 2017.
Just because Fred is a guy.
So Rob Thomas wrote it about his first dog. So there's that. Little Wonders. Let's see. So he wrote it before the movie, but the only way that he could put it out was with the soundtrack for Meet the Robinsons. That's like the only way that they would publish it.
Ah, okay, so the movie made it famous.
Yeah, basically.
So I'm partially dignified. I'm partially justified.
Yeah. There you go.
I'll take it on a technicality.
Yeah. But yeah, no, that Disney dark period is for morbid curiosity only. Chicken Little and Meet the Robinsons and what's it called? I don't know if any of you have ever seen Home on the Range, but good gravy, that movie.
Which one's that?
That's the last 2D animated one that they. That's the last 2D animated one they did before Princess and the Frog. It's 3 cows, one of which is Jennifer Coolidge. Basically going on like a road trip buddy adventure thing to save their farm. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I've never seen that one.
Randy Quaid plays the villain who is luring cows away by hypnotizing them with yodeling and basically being a cattle rustler and stealing everyone's cattle. And he has a song about how he steals everyone's cattle with yodeling because the cows can't resist his charms.
Wow. I guess I don't have to worry about.
Well, the visuals are right up there with Disney's weirdest, like Pink Elephants on Parade. So it's just for the insanity, it's very much worth it.
What was the year that it came out?
Oh, I want to say 2003, something like that. Let me see. Home on
okay, so
the
what
Range. 2004, it looks like.
Oh, okay. It sounds like a holdover from the 80s, honestly.
Like I said, it was their last 2D animated feature until Princess and the Frog, because they were like, we can't justify the animation costs and Shrek and blah, 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 blah. Yeah, good gravy, that movie. Oh, also Cuba Gooding Jr. plays like a really like over the top extra horse. So there's that. It has, okay, so it's starring the 3 cows are not Jennifer Coolidge, excuse me, Jennifer Tilly. So it's Roseanne Barr, Judi Dench, and Jennifer Tilly as the 3 cows. Hello, Jesse.
The Bard's Jester has arrived.
Is that what he is? It's Cab Calloway, everybody.
Wait, what?
I've told you you're Cab Calloway.
Yeah, well, hold on, Cab Calloway. I know you've told me, but I keep forgetting him. It's probably like the 3rd time. It's like,
Oh yeah, that Cab Calloway.
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah.
Nothing.
What's up? What's up, Ian? You back?
I'm back.
He's back.
Hey, Ian. Hey, Jesse.
Jesse,
Bonjour.
hit me with your birthday real quick. I need to look up what the top song was when you were born. And Ian, if you want to join in on this, that's cool.
September 17th of 2005.
Billboard #1 hit. So far we have me.
You were way too young to be giving me life advice.
That's probably
I
true.
was thinking.
But
But hold on. Why is that a bad thing for me?
Wisdom from the mouth of babes.
It's just bad in general. The fact that I need life advice is bad. The fact,
It would be worse if you rejected life advice.
Oh, Jesse, you got a good one.
that you're getting like no.
But
Jesse, you got a good one, man. Gold Digger by Kanye West. So far I got Just Another Day in Paradise by Phil Vassar. Abby got what was yours, Abby? I'm trying to remember.
All for
Janet
you.
Jackson.
Yeah.
It was a Janet Jackson song. And then Dante got Lose Yourself by Eminem. So there you go. Ian, you want to hit me with yours? I'd love to hear it.
August 7th, 1992. I'm scared to look.
Okay, let's see. 1992, that'll be a good one. How about 1992? There we go.
At least
Yours is This Used to Be My Playground by Madonna, which was recorded for the film A League of Their Own.
oh boy.
I have nothing but contempt. I was hoping it would be something decent, like I don't know, Pearl Jam, or
No, we weren't there yet. It needed a few more years for Pearl Jam. 92 was a rough year for music. I think MC Hammer was probably the best thing that came out in 1992.
And finally, at the tail end of this strategic objective, the General lays out the map for Operation Oklahoma, a plan to secure a physical base of operations, establish the Brood as an institution, and secure a legacy for future generations of artists.
Do you actually have an end goal in mind, or is it just to create a community of support for each other?
The end goal is Oklahoma. You've heard me talk about that, right?
Actually, no, I don't think so.
Okay, so Alex and I want to buy a school building, a public school building, former public school building in Oklahoma City area at some point, and in the future, and renovate it into an event center for weddings and the like as a business, but then also make it our home base for promoting and actually publishing, especially in physical media, other artists in all formats, everything from books to CDs to movies on, Blu-ray, whatever formats, and basically just promote all of that as our own little Inkling group, and basically take the Inklings to a logical conclusion of what if the Inklings actually had a publishing house. And what if the Inklings actually had a plan for succession and we were able to turn this into an institution, right? So that's kind of our end goal with everything. The online stuff is to get my own stories going eventually, which that is sort of our impetus. I feel like if we can make epic poetry work on any kind of successful monetary level, we can make anyone else's stuff work, and we can convince anyone else that we can make anyone else's stuff work, right? And so it's a thing where we can be the agent for what they're doing if we can make my stuff work. So me and Alex are like locked in lockstep with each other on that. He's more in the I don't know how to put it. More of the, not even business side, sort of just like keeping me from going crazy. And
He's on the practical side.
He's on the practical side for sure. And I'm Mr. Vision guy. And we're looking for, eventually, I don't have anyone specifically in mind, but we want a third person who is specifically going to be in the brood, working toward making sure everybody has the tools that they need and that their art is the best that it can be. Someone who's actually working on elevating the art of the entire group. So the tentative titles of those would be Bard, Architect, Alex is the architect, and the Chief Bard, the Chief Architect, and the Chief Artist. Like I said, we don't have a Chief Artist yet. We're looking at that, and we're tentatively talking about a succession plan that would involve basically each person, each office has to be someone from a separate family, and those families essentially are supposed to be raising someone to pass it to, or they can pass it to anyone else as long as it's not one of the other two families. So it's sort of a feudal sort of system, and that's really just to keep the mobility of the brood. I don't think that the brood really thrives well in committee. Right?
No.
The committee needs to stay away. The actual practical side of things needs to stay away so that the artists can do what the artists are doing and we can support the artists as the institution. So that's kind of the idea there. But that's the big, broad 1,000-foot, like, what we're doing.
Getting an organization of visionaries is kind of paradoxical.
That's what a lot of people have said. I don't consider it a group of visionaries, though. I consider it a group of people who are in various
Your mic cut
in
out.
some way, sense, or
This program was brought to you by Slushies, the cereal that bites back.
check 1 2. There we go. Yeah, no, I sometimes have static over in this area that messes with this cord. I really need to get a different one going, or plug it in differently. But yeah, no, I consider it a group of this is why we say artists and artist adjacents on our business card and stuff like that. This is people who understand the value of what the Inklings brought and want to bring their own talents to make that an institution. Right? No matter what their value is. Now, artists are the lifeblood of doing that, and there needs to be a roster, if you will, of artists that are regularly promoted, which we plan on getting going eventually, but it's much more loose at this point. We don't have money to send to be spending on art, but we want to be someone who can come to say, look, do you want to be paid for your art, or do you want us to confederate with you and essentially push your stuff and help you with all the publishing that you require? And, you know, be as loose as you want to be. We can figure out a contract and go from there. I don't want to tie artists down. I want them to be able to do what they want to do. And so basically that's the vision there. We're not just looking for artists. We are looking for other folks. But right now, because it's all online, there's not as much of the practical side being actively sought after until we can gain the capital that we want to buy what we're doing. And we're going to be probably shoestringing together the budget because a lot of these schools are selling for dirt cheap. And if we are able to get it actually zoned for basically apartments for me and Alex, my family and Alex's family, we can very easily over time handyman build that out into an event center. Right? It has to be a commercial with residential for that, but it is doable.
Let's start a cult.
So that's what everyone says. A lot of people joke about the Brood being a cult. I'm like, I ain't no cult leader, boy. Actually, Braden, when he first had me, when I was in Oklahoma, he had me play D&D with his buddies, and had me as, oh, you were there? Yes, you were there.
Yeah,
and he had me play the bard, the head bard and worship leader of a cult. And I basically did him like Jack Black, and it was hilarious.
Yeah, he didn't play a character there. He was just really.
I was just evil.
Yeah, you but evil.
I was the Disney villain version of myself.
Yeah, that's funny.
You too can be a part of the brood of writers and poets at war. Just visit joshuadavidling.com/discord to join. If you're a true poetry patriot, you can support us on Substack and Patreon and get the recordings of all our encouraging and strategic missions, along with much, much more. Once again, all links can be found at joshuadavidling.com. Over and out.
God of song said